Hi, everyone. So it's the eve of the inauguration, the day before, and I want to do a video on three characters: President-to-be Joe Biden, President Trump, and the election, and let's call it, for simplicity's sake, what the electorate was thinking when the election happened. And the electorate is obviously a mass of human beings, especially in America, but you can't disregard the influence of everybody who was looking in around the world. They didn't have a vote, but they had an impact. They had what people were saying and thinking about it in other countries, what they were doing about it in other countries had an impact. And then there were the people in America who actually got to make a choice as a vote, including both of the candidates. So what was going on there? And I want to look at what it's doing with the president-to-be, Joe Biden, what it was doing with Donald Trump, and what it was intending, both conscious and unconscious. So let's have a look at the human design of all the characters involved. Let's start with Joe Biden. Joe Biden is, in human design terms, a generator. He generates energy, a particular type of energy, very much related to drawing upon the past and being in sync with the past. And he thinks in his own unique way. But if you look at all the open centers here, and if they were colored, that would make him a manifester, which means he's designed as a generator. His strategy is to respond in the moment to what is actually happening. Instinctively, physically, in terms of relating emotionally, in terms of what people want, and then putting it out there in several different ways. So, in one sense, he's going to be more responsive, and I'm going to say to the electorate, but I'm talking about everybody involved. And obviously, people have different levels of input and influence depending on where they sit in society, what their connections are, what they believe about what's happened. So there's a very fluid dynamic going on there of shifting, of moving, of people looking after their interests, feeling good or bad about what happened, you name it. And he's designed to respond, you could say, to the electorate. Donald Trump is designed as a manifesting generator to respond by manifesting what he thinks is the right thing to do, what he wants to do, and what he thinks will help other people. And he's pretty logical about it. Now, if you look at the open centers, so he's in a sense imposing his will, his understanding, his emotional needs upon the electorate, who he is open to physically, instinctively, on a heart level with, and also open to what's going on out there in other people's minds. But he's designed to respond and go, this is what I truly believe, or I want to do, and I believe is best for everybody, and it makes sense, so let's do that. So the electorate, in a sense, is there to guide him to what they want. So the electorate tried for 4 years they said, let's try this out and see if this succeeds. And then they chose Joe Biden. However, it went down because the electorate has all its various things. It's not just you stamp one thing and then everything's equal. There's a lot of factors going on there. Law, all sorts of things I won't get into at the moment. There's all sorts of influences at work. And Joe Biden is very much someone who will respond to what everybody out there as an electorate and as vested interests want. Now, I could take it further, but I won't, because I want to look at the third character, because they're the most important. This is what the electorate was about on election eve. And by transit, which means what was actually happening that night, was a spirit of going, we want to know, will we get what we want if we really want to know, what have we been doing in the past that's helped us thrive and survive? And is that viable? If we buy that, will it work? So it's going back, let's go back to what we're used to and see if it actually gives us what we want. Because we want to know very clearly if it does. Now, I'm talking about a mass consciousness asking itself this question. We want to know, is what we've been doing, if we do something that is based on our past experience, are we going to thrive? Or do we have to reinvent the wheel? Now, 3 months before that, the structure was put into place. And it's going, look, we want to be open to new vision, but is it actually going to, we want to know, how's it going to show up? How's it going to manifest? So when you put them both together, you go, if we allow this new vision stuff to manifest, is it going to give us what we want better than the past? Or is it actually going to work? And the outcome will be transformation. The electorate wants to know what's useful from the past. What's worth manifesting in terms of vision, you might say from the future, and to some degree that's true because you've got these two gates here. But it's like we've got all these future visions and we want to know if we manifest them, is it going to work the same, just be the same old, or will it come up with something better, like buying a product at a store? Is this going to improve our lives? Are we going to thrive? Or do we have to transform? And what needs to be transformed? Now, human design is not theory. It's not idealism. It's based on, it's an experiment. It's based on, look, it's an experiment, but it's based on experience. This is the key to human science. You learn through experience. As the originator said, it's an experiment. When with all the nerdy stuff, I saw a video he did today, actually, and he was saying it's so simple, yet not easy, because it all boils down to living your strategy and inner authority, right? And you experiment, and it becomes clear what works and what doesn't. So let's go back to here, right? And what's the inner authority here? Well, the electorate wants to get emotionally clear. And the electorate is a manifester. So it wants to get emotionally clear from a leadership point of view. It's really going, if we manifest Trump's vision, if we manifest Biden's vision, however that is, lack of it, whether you think Trump lacked it or Biden lacks it or both of them lacked it or they're both visionaries in their own different way, doesn't matter. It's like we're looking at the story. We want to know both sides of the story and see if that will give us what we want in a sustainable, relatable way. And what do we have to do with what we've already got? What needs to be kept and what needs to be transformed physically? And we're just going to have to be open to working on this from the heart over the next 4 years. Now, the electorate chose Biden and chose to retire Trump. However that came about. And here's what attracted them to Biden. It's going to produce real change. All of a sudden, the electorate working with Biden can produce real change in the physical world. I'm not saying it's good or bad change, it's just real change. They'll get clear about what needs to be changed. And with Biden as president, the electorate will get clearer about what true leadership truly is. Leadership that will take you into the future. That's the two things. What sort of leadership will bring about real change that will lead us into a better future? Now, you wouldn't see that if you look at the media and just follow the whole politics of it in the moment. And it doesn't mean it's all going to be nice and great. Oh, we'll change and move into the future. It could be very confronting. And Joe Biden's not going to be, when it comes to compromise, the electorate runs the show. People are going to have to go, what does the electorate truly want? If I'm going to sell them something, I've got to listen to them. And two, the electorate is going to become much more aware of what is going on all levels, no matter what goes on. And the electorate is going to go change, openness. We're really curious about what sort of change will really bring something great, something of benefit to us. Now that means everybody, from the poorest person to the elites, all the vested interests. In other words, the electorate is going, what really has to change in the world? Because you can be a multi-billionaire and completely unsatisfied within. You can be poor as a church mouse and be completely content and happy, or you can be completely in a tragic, difficult, starving, horrible situation, or you can be an elite person who just has a wonderful heart and is doing everything. I know of people like this. I even know some who just, their heart's for helping humanity. It's like the people with completely fixed points of view, completely separated and wanting to fight with somebody. It's everybody. It's the whole mass. What is needing to people are really curious about what and becoming more and more open to what's going to change things so we can thrive in the world. Now, having Biden as president for as long as he stays there in this 4-year period is going to transform really change our concept of leadership. The electorate's going to change him, and he's going to change the electorate. And the electorate really wants to know what will help them thrive. And that means everybody, which means you've got to deal with people who are rich and are terrified of losing their position or making sure they don't. And they have to be treated as human beings, just like middle-class people, well-off people, good people, bad people, people in prisons, people in poverty. It's just an unbelievably challenging and unique time in human history where humanity has a massive say in the experiment, and it's demanding answers that help everybody thrive. Now, for Trump, President Trump, it's a time for him to really reflect and learn from the experience that he's had. This next 4 years is like real learning. What does it take to, how can I put this? What from the past is really going to help the future without limiting the future? Because the electorate is taking the leadership role. The electorate will demand out of him, what have you learned? And there'll be a lot of compromises. Donald Trump is still going to do what he wants to do and still make money and still lead his clan and his people. But the electorate are going to go, come on, we want those answers. We want to be open. We're curious about and open to what will really help us thrive and what will really help us transform. And that is what he is going to have the opportunity to work on over the next 4 years. How could we take this to a whole new level? Okay, I've been there, I've done that. How can we take it to a whole new level? How can what I'm doing, what I do naturally, like making money and being the leader of a clan of people, being the person who makes the decisions, how can I use that, which is part of me, and everyone's, You just have to accept that's the way he is. And how can I use that to help this massive transformation that's underway now? Whereas Joe Biden is going to be in the limelight, sort of, and the electorate's going to be asking him a lot of questions. Like, we want to be aware of what from the past has value now or can be improved and repackaged and resold as something that's truly valuable. Now, that's going to be tough because the electorate's going to call the shots. But in a lot of ways, he's designed to do that anyway. Why he's attracted is it's going to change him as a leader. And therefore, not necessarily bring out the best or the worst, but it's going to show people what an old-fashioned, I'll use that without judgment, an old-fashioned leader has to go through in order to be up with the times and to really help the electorate transform itself. That's the putting it as simply and easily as possible. Now, I don't want to drag this out, but I wanted for myself and to share with you a way of looking at this that takes it out of the tribalism, these are bad, these are great, these are things way, but see the big picture of what's happening. The Trump's in retirement, learning, growing, developing. Biden's in the seat, being the focus for a lot of people in America, in his party, in the other party, and around the world for really assessing what has to change in the old way of leadership, the old way of being first, number one. And the first thing is, in the animal kingdom, it's not the strongest that rules, is the alpha. It's the one that the pack gives permission to be the alpha that rules. And as long as they're strong enough and exercise their power correctly for the benefit of the pack will allow them to be the alpha, because letting them run that role gives them a future. But if they can't fulfill that role, well, in the animal kingdom, the pack will often tear them apart and promote someone else to the position. Now, I'm not saying that's what happened in this election. We're human beings. We can be worse than animals at our worst, way worse than any animal would be. But we can also be, we're at a different level. We're capable of more. Not to put animals down, but we're capable of more as human beings. And right now that the electorate is going, I need to know what has to change so we can manifest a vision for the future that I know is going to benefit everybody. And that the open centres in that electorate chart that works for everyone at a heart level. Now, I don't mean woo-woo heart. I mean people know in their heart this works for me, it works for my family, it works for my community, it works, my God, this could bring the world together in a way that we've never been able to do before. And that's the experiment. And these two men and all the people around them, the men, the women, the children, the onlookers from other countries, everything involved is all part of a mass desire, even those that are frightened of the change. That's acknowledging the change is possible. Those who are resisting the change they're not, if it wasn't possible, they'd be ignoring it. And then there is this sort of mass lumbering towards what is going to work. If we manifest this, what are the past? What are the future? Where are we going? What do we need? What is it to be a strong, powerful leader? Where does power come from? How do you exercise power? What is true strength? How do we live together as human beings in a way that everyone benefits? That it isn't just drawn, all the wealth, all the abundance is drawn to the top in a way that leaves a lot of them unfulfilled, because it doesn't fulfill you to have all that. It just gives you a lot. And how do we turn the greatest waste of resources in this world, human potential, into an asset that brings out the very best in everyone, so everyone can find their natural place and thrive because of it? And each person thriving contributes to a world that's unbelievably fulfilling and exciting and adventurous and mysterious and wonderful, but it actually works in the real world. And humanity starts to live in a way where it's safe to love. You can love if that's your choice. And it's safe to be powerful without being threatened or without having to defend it. But that power is a contribution, not a threat to other people. How do we live in that world? And that's what the electorate, that's what the mass consciousness is looking for at this moment. And it's given President Trump 4 years to stir the pot. Biden, President-to-be Biden, 4 years, at least that's the intention, to take care of whatever his party's agenda is, to respond to what the demands are, what is happening. And the electorate in the middle of it is going, how do we put this together where the change is elegant and effective? And it's going to be those people who see it as not this versus that, but powerful forces at work moving towards knowing what sort of change will transform us in a way that humanity thrives all over the world. Not idealistically, not because we're all the same. In fact, it's going to make our uniqueness and our differences far more valuable. But we see human beings as an incredible asset with something great to bring to the table. It's really about make humanity great again, or discover the greatness in each human being and in humanity, and use our differences as assets, not as reasons for conflicts or liabilities. And that's the question that everyone as a mass, what humanity is grappling with now. And for those of you who are into being creative, into marketing, what I mean by that is creating win-win situations where you bring out the power in people and combine your power with it to present it to people in a way that they benefit. For those of you who recognize that this is a spectacular spectacular time to be creative, to explore what's possible amidst the chaos, and start with bringing what's great about you to the table. I don't care whether you're a multi-billionaire or what people would call an ordinary person or somewhere in between. You have something that's fantastic, that's great about you. Bring that to the table. And then find other people doing the same. And then hook up with them in relationships, in business, in being creative. Because that is going to become more and more and more attractive when you can demonstrate to the electorate something where everybody wins through being themselves, through being fulfilled as themselves, and then extending that. There's nothing that gives, well, at least in my experience, there's nothing that gives you more pleasure as a mature human being than being able to truly empower and give to other people and watch them find joy, thrive, be happy, and see them emerge with their gifts and their power intact. It's so fulfilling to do that. And now, as almost like a beast, the electorate is prowling, going, show me that in the real world in a way that works. You don't have to destroy someone in order to succeed. You offer them an option that's so much better that they can't argue. You make them an offer they can't refuse, because it's so good, not because you've got a gun at their head. And this is what's alive now. This is what was born in this chaotic, crazy election. And it's going to go even further in 2024. But let's just work with that in the next 4 years. And if that means challenging things that are not good, challenge them, but find the greatness in them. It's not a time to destroy. It's a time, the old world is dying. But in that death, something great can happen. Something incredible can be born. I've been there when my mother died. I've seen this happen. So go for it. It's a great time to be alive, even though it's incredibly challenging. In fact, mainly because it is so challenging. There's so much potential there for you to find what's great about you, be empowered by the power within you, and then bring that to the table and share it with others. Talk to you again soon.